What is up, you guys, and welcome back into another One Piece video. Today, we are here to talk about the full spoilers for Chapter 1169. Just in case you yourself have not read the spoilers, feel free to go down to the comment section. It will be in the pinned comment, typed out piece by piece, and also linked out to where we found them. So, with that being said, getting right into it, we got a color spread of the 14 Rocks pirate members. They're all suited up, and I'm looking forward to this, brother, because this is one of the few color spreads out there where it doesn't feature just the Straw Hat Pirates and their friends. No. We finally got the Rocks pirates coming through post-mortem. We got Rocks, we got Newgate, Linlin, Kaido, Shiki, Stussy, Gloriosa, Strusin, John, Marlon, who is dead right now, Wangji, Ganzui, Barbell, and Kyowo. I'm so glad Oda did this, because it proves to me, at least, that he didn't forget about Barbell. Where is he? One of the only guys we didn't see fleeing God Valley. There's gotta be a reason. And same with Kyowo, to an extent, right? We don't know where Kyowo is current day, and I feel like that might matter, but we'll see. On to the chapter now. We see Gaban and Shanks talking about Roger's son. It doesn't look like they name Ace out explicitly, which I'm kind of curious to see if they do or not when the chapter comes out, mainly because I wonder if this is something Shanks had to piece together himself, like, oh, Ace, huh? Maybe that's Roger's son. Or was this one of those things where Shanks found out when Sengoku announced it to the world? And even then, now that we know that Gaban knows about Ace's existence, I wonder if even a small part of him wanted to go to Marineford, or did he simply look at that and say, I'm retired. I'm just gonna leave that to Whitebeard. I'm just curious about the logistics, brother. I just want to see how that all went down on their heads. So one thing that they said in this chapter that was pretty cool was that Shanks said, oh yeah, the captain's son? That's like my younger brother then. And Gaban says, yep, it's just like how you and Buggy are our sons. Buggy? Name drop? Whoa, Roger's son, Buggy! That's huge, man. I mean, we already kind of assumed this because Buggy was on the crew at the same time as Shanks. They're both kids. They grew up there. They love their captains. But it's like, dang, dude, I wonder what Buggy's backstory is. You know Oda's cooking something foul up with it. I got that feeling in my bones, brother. And also, now that this is being brought up, like how Ace is their younger brother, I wonder if Buggy feels the same way. Like, if we were to go inside Buggy's head, how does he feel about Ace? Does he look at Ace and say, oh god, the captain's son? Yeah, that's my younger brother too. I mean, they did get along, right? I will say this, Buggy and Ace got along really well together, and maybe this is the reason, right? They might not even know it, but deep down, they're like, man, something about this guy, I'm just vibing with it. So now, we cut over to Arist Castle, and we see that Harald is going crazy. He still has his right mind for majority of this chapter, but nonetheless, slowly and surely, he is starting to get controlled by Emu. His body is moving on its own. He's starting to kill the guards that are trying to chain him up, and he orders all the guards to kill him. This is when Jarul and Loki walk in the room. He's being stabbed from all directions, but of course, because he is a Knight of God, he simply recovers. We cut back over to Shanks and Gaban, and Shanks explains to Gaban exactly how Emu's possession actually works. I'll just read this verbatim, but he says, me and Harald formed a Shallows covenant with an entity called the Great One in the Holy Land, which I found kind of noteworthy. This, at least to me, is telling me that Gaban has never met Emu. Because if Gaban did meet Emu, then I don't think Shanks would have described Emu like this. Like, oh, it's an entity called the Great One. This is how you'd explain it to somebody who has no idea who's up there. So I don't think Gaban has ever personally made that journey yet, which is shocking to me because I feel like Roger and the crew might have went up there at some point in time, but we'll see about that one. So Shanks goes on and he says, even with this Shallows covenant, if I'm within the distance of their ability, it would be impossible for me to go against their orders. Gaban says that's a strange power. Shanks then goes on and he says that he revealed himself to King Harald earlier, after they left the Holy Land, and they became really good friends. And we even see a panel of this moment, and I love it because King Harald pieces everything together And he says, hey, I knew it. You're Shanks from the red-haired pirates, right? And yes, they did end up forming a bond there. What's fun about this is that Oda addressed the elephant in the room. Because 2 chapters ago, when we saw Holy Knight Shanks, it was cool, first up. But second up, at that point in time, Shanks was an established pirate. You know, Shanks had Yasopp, Ben Beckman, possibly Lucky Roo, and a bunch of other guys. So it's like, wait, they let Shanks up here despite him being a notorious pirate captain? And plus, where did his crew go? I thought Oda was gonna like maybe retcon that and say, oh no, he got his crew after the Holy Land. But no, here we have it. Shanks did have the crew at that point in time. And now I'm just wondering, where the hell are the boys whenever Shanks goes up to the Holy Land? Is it the same as like visiting your parents? Like, hey guys, I gotta go talk to my dad real quick. Can you guys just wait in the car? Is that what happens? I'm not too sure. Maybe this is like their 3D2Y, where Shanks goes up to the Holy Land for like a time skip, training arc, incognito mode, reconnaissance mission. And then Ben Beckman, Lucky Roo, and Yasopp are like training on the side as well. Like they all go their separate ways for a little bit, but they meet up after Shanks leaves. Like I said, I'm just curious about the logistics. I would love to learn more about all this lore and mindset. So Shanks goes on and he tells Gaban that Harald wants to join the world government, and to do so, he would have to become a Knight of God. Gaban says, well, is that a bad thing? Shanks says by forming that covenant, it would grant him superhuman strength and an immortal body. And not just that, but he would then be given the power to summon, conjure an abyss circle, and he can traverse over great distances. But in return, the Great One's voice will follow them to the ends of the world. No matter where they are, they will not be able to go against their will. Harald will not be able to say no anymore. And I doubt those greedy people, the Great One and the Gorosei, would actually keep their promises then. And that is when they sense the ominous Haki in the castle. And this is interesting to me, because Gaban and Shanks know all about Emu's possession. Yet, somehow, some way, Loki is still being blamed for the murder of King Harald. Like, the truth is out there. These guys know what's happening. And, of course, later in the chapter, we come to find out they go and fight Harald themselves. It's like, why is Loki being blamed for all of this? I wonder. You know, at first, Gaban was like, oh, you know, me and Shanks, we didn't have the full picture. So I want Loki to tell his side of the story. And it's like, okay, but Gaban, you have like 90% of the picture right here. You know, Shanks is explaining to you how possession works. Which brings up a brand new theory that we will get to here in a second. And this could be the case. So, now that we're back at the castle, we see that Loki, Jarul, and everybody else has pinned down King Harald. King Harald says, hey guys, I made an oopsie-daisy. Okay, he doesn't say that. That would lose aura. He says, I've been fooled by the world government, and I've been doing dirty jobs for them. He then tells Jarl to give Loki the legendary devil fruit of Elbaf, because that is the only way to defeat him now that he's gotten Emu's immortal God Knight power-ups. Harald says, I have to die as soon as possible, boys. Kill me, and then Loki, you need to sit on that throne. Tell the people I was a fool of a king, and then use my death to build yourself up, to build that reputation. I do not care if people badmouth me after I'm dead. What matters most is Elbaf's future. Loki, you understand, right? And Loki simply says, I'm speechless. Which makes sense. I mean, this is a lot to drop on a guy out of nowhere. He had no clue his dad was even being controlled until he walked through those doors. So, yes, this is now spurring a new theory in the realm. And I do like this idea. But the reason why Loki might have been framed for King Harald's murder is because Loki doesn't want to tell the kingdom that his dad was a fool. And I like that, you know? I could definitely see Loki wanting to do this. He might want to preserve his dad's honor. So that's why he doesn't tell all of Elbaf that his dad was being controlled and being used as a puppet. He wants to make sure that Harald dies with dignity. And if that is the case, if that theory is true, then I highly respect that. So what's crazy about this, in my opinion, is that Harald says for Loki to sit on the throne. And I'm like, wait a minute, Harald. What about Hyrden? Like, I get it, right? Hyrden, not exactly legitimate by blood because of his marriage to Ida, or should I say his non-marriage to Ida. But it's like, dang, like, no Hyrden mention whatsoever. Man, if I was Hyrden and I was listening into this story, I'd be like, no, Loki, he must have mentioned me, right? Surely Dad talked about me in his final moments. Maybe next chapter. Maybe next chapter. Harald then says, I beg you, Loki, you are the only one I can actually count on. Hyrden? Hyrden? After they entrust everything to Loki, Emu's influence finally takes control over Harald completely. And Harald doesn't get Domi reversied into a monster. No. He simply loses control of himself. And that is when King Harald starts killing everybody around him. The guards start stabbing him, chopping him in half. But Harald just keeps on regenerating. The guards say, how dare you? You're not King Harald anymore. Harald responds by saying, don't be ridiculous. I am still Harald. But I'm just a loyal servant now to the Great One. I love how they call him the Great One. That's such a cool nickname. Harald says, none will survive, and I won't let a word of what's happening get out. We then find out who actually closes the rooms to the castle so that nobody can escape. And you might be wondering, Sai, who did it? Who was the one that locked the doors? Turns out, it was the guards. Harald shouts out to the guards outside, and he says, hey, y'all, there's criminals in here. Lock the doors. Don't let them escape. And the guards outside the room comply, and that is why nobody can flee the throne room. Pretty insane stuff, man. Pretty insane. So now, the next thing we see is that King Harald, possessed by Emu, wants to eat the legendary devil fruit of Elbaf. Harald says that I'll be the one to eat it, and then I will give Elbaf to Emu. Jarul tries to stop him, saying, hey, if you were to eat that devil fruit, then this whole world will be over. And that is when Jarl gets stabbed in the head. Rest in peace, Jarl. Shanks and Gaban then arrive to the castle because of the ominous hockey that Harald has been emitting, and they attack King Harald. But again, Harald is simply recovering. Harald turns over to Shanks and says, Shanks, this immortal body of mine is fascinating. I can feel my superiority. Shanks says, damn it, is there no way to cancel this order? Loki then arrives to the treasure room at the end of the chapter. He unlocks the chains and opens the door. Inside, he sees the treasure box that should contain the fruit, and the Ragnir hammer is behind it. But something is strange, because Ragnir is moving. Loki says, yes, this must be the forbidden devil fruit that is passed down in Elbaf. So now we have confirmation that the person who entered the treasury back in chapter 1152, that was indeed Loki. It's just that the silhouettes don't exactly match up, but then again, silhouettes in One Piece, we're just gonna let that one slide. Chapter ends, though, with the Ragnir moving on its own, and it tries to attack Loki, who just barely dodges the attack. And then we hear a strange laughter, saying, gee, gee, gee. Loki says, who is this? And that is when we get the end of the chapter mark, with a break next week. But because the break is simply a Japanese Christmas holiday weekend, there is a chance we might still get spoilers pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that. So, Ragnir, what is going on with this? Is there somebody in the room throwing Ragnir? Or did Ragnir eat the legendary Elbaf devil fruit? So, where I'm at right now is that I think Ragnir simply ate it. And the reason why I think this is because back on Egghead, Vegapunk did not tell us how weapons actually eat devil fruits. And you might be saying, Sai, why would Vegapunk even mention this in the first place? He doesn't have any reason to be fair. But we do know that when we first saw devil fruits being given to weapons, that was attributed to Vegapunk. He made that grand discovery and popularized it. But we just never learned the methodology behind it. And I was always curious. I'm like, okay, how do they do it? Do they like simply squeeze fruit juice on the weapon? Do they put them in a room and leave them alone together? We have no clue. This could be the reason why Oda didn't show us or tell us how it actually goes down, because he was saving it for Ragnir. Maybe you just like I said, put them in a room together, let some time pass, and then yeah, like the devil fruit will get absorbed into the weapon or item. I think that could be what happened here. And if that is the case, I guess this is confirmation that whatever the legendary devil fruit actually is a mythological Zoan. Because so far, the only weapons that have been able to get devil fruits are the ones where the devil fruits are indeed Zoans. So that is what I think is going on here. I think Ragnir ate the legendary Zoan devil fruit of Elbaf. And that could explain the laugh. And here's the thing with One Piece laughs. They're always somewhat indicative of the character or the power. So with that being the case, I think we could potentially take that gee laugh and potentially break it down and find out what powers Ragnir or the devil fruit actually have or are. So yeah, I do think the Ragnir eating the fruit theory is looking solid. Another possibility is just that somebody else is in that room as well. Like maybe there's a guy hiding in the shadows and he threw the hammer and he's like the gatekeeper of the devil fruit. I wouldn't mind that either. It's just that I feel like maybe Harald should have said something to Loki beforehand. Like, hey Loki, there's a little man in that treasure room who's guarding the fruit. He has Ragnir. Just give him the password and he'll let you go. Like, then again, I guess Harald wouldn't have a lot of time to explain this. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna be another character. I don't know. And another route could just be that Ragnir has another devil fruit and it's always been alive and the fruit is like separate to this. But yeah, there's a lot of good theories out there. Personally, I am kind of leaning towards Ragnir just being it, because I think that'd be kind of cool. And also, now that we know how much Shanks actually knows about the situation, it does make you wonder why Shanks went out to capture Loki and to bring him back to Elbaf in the first place. Was he simply scared of the world government getting their hands on Ragnir or this legendary devil fruit? Because Loki does have a special bounty. So perhaps Shanks, by capturing Loki and bringing him back home, that was in a way to protect Loki and the rest of the world. And also, one more thing I do want to add in before we end off this video, but the distinctive laugh of the hammer or devil fruit, the ge, could be a direct reference to the popular anime Ge no Kitaru, where, in that show, a young boy goes around fighting and befriending yokai, and one of his main powers is to emit electricity, kind of like how Ragnir is able to summon lightning. And not just that, but since the show is based around yokai, it would make sense if this is what Oda's doing. This could be the main power that works against the Gorsei, immortality, and Emu himself. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about all of this down below. So far, I think this looks like an amazing chapter. I am excited to see that final page just because of the mystery, right? The mystery behind Ragnir and the fruit. It is gripping me, brother, pretty hard. And of course, you know me. I'm looking forward to that color spread. But that is when we're going to spread eagle and get out of here. Wait, is that what they say? Spread eagle and get out of here. I don't think that's it. Spreading our wings and getting out of here. There we go. You guys take care. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way into the end. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay safe. And peace out, brothers. And also, heads up, but we will be coming back in the next couple of days to read through the comment section. So if you want your comment read, make sure to comment it down below. Now, peace out, brothers.